Introduction: A life-changing encounter. In the heart of Chicago, where the streets never sleep and skyscrapers kiss the sky, a young boy named Joe found himself at the center of an extraordinary event, one that would challenge his beliefs, redefine his understanding of compassion, and forever change his life. But before we dive into this life-altering journey, let's take a step back and ask, have you ever encountered something or someone that completely shifted your perspective on life? If so, you might relate to Joe's story more than you think. One spring afternoon, Joe was wandering through his neighborhood, his eyes full of curiosity, when he stumbled upon something unusual. A large, scruffy dog sat alone near the curb. Its fur was unkempt, its ribs slightly visible beneath its thick coat, and its deep, soulful eyes held a mix of weariness and hope. For a moment, their gazes locked, and an unspoken connection formed between the boy and the stray. Joe, initially startled, did something he had never done before. He shouted at the dog. Perhaps it was fear, surprise, or simply an instinctive reaction, but that single moment set off a chain of events that no one could have predicted. Despite his initial reaction, Joe couldn't shake the image of the dog from his mind. That night, as he lay in bed, he recalled the sadness in the dog's eyes. Had he misjudged the creature? Why did he feel so guilty? These thoughts plagued him until he made a decision. He needed to find that dog again. The next day, Joe set out with a small bag of food, determined to make amends. As he searched the streets, he asked himself, how often do we judge others before understanding their story? How many times have we reacted out of fear rather than empathy? His determination grew with each passing block. After hours of searching, Joe finally spotted the dog near a park bench, curled up and shivering slightly. With slow, deliberate steps he approached, this time with kindness rather than fear. He extended his hand, offering a piece of bread. The dog, sensing no threat, wagged its tail hesitantly before gently taking the food. What followed was a moment of pure connection. The dog licked Joe's hands as if thanking him for his kindness. For the first time, Joe felt the weight of responsibility. He knew he couldn't just walk away. His parents, who had been watching from a distance, were moved by their son's compassion. Upon learning that the dog had been roaming the streets for weeks, Joe pleaded with them to help. Though hesitant at first, his parents couldn't ignore the sincerity in his eyes. They agreed to take the dog in, but when they returned with supplies, the dog had vanished. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months. Joe and his parents launched a full-scale search, putting up posters, asking neighbors, visiting shelters. But the dog was nowhere to be found. Each false lead brought disappointment, but Joe refused to give up. He believed, deep in his heart, that the dog needed him as much as he needed it. One particularly stormy evening, just as hope was beginning to wane, Joe's family received a call. A kind stranger had spotted the dog limping near an alley. Joe and his parents rushed to the location, their hearts pounding. When they arrived, they found the dog, now visibly weaker, its paw injured, its once bright eyes clouded with pain and exhaustion. Without hesitation, they wrapped the dog in a warm blanket and took it to the nearest veterinary clinic. The vet confirmed the dog, whom they named Harley, was injured but would recover with proper care. Joe's unwavering dedication touched the clinic staff, who worked tirelessly to nurse Harley back to health. Joe visited every day, bringing treats and whispering words of encouragement. Weeks passed, and Harley's strength returned. Her once dull coat now gleamed, and her eyes sparkled with gratitude. Joe had learned a powerful lesson, one that many of us often overlook. True kindness isn't about grand gestures, but about persistence, patience, and the willingness to right our wrongs. In a world where it's easy to turn away, Joe chose to step forward. And in doing so, he not only saved Harley, but also discovered the depth of his own humanity. Joe's story is not unique. Across the world, countless acts of compassion have led to unimaginable transformations. Consider the story of Fiona, a rescue dog found near death in a drainage ditch, whose remarkable recovery became a symbol of hope for abandoned animals. Or James Bowen, a struggling street musician who found purpose in a stray cat named Bob, leading to a best-selling book and movie adaptation, A Street Cat Named Bob. These stories remind us that kindness has the power to change lives, not just for those we help, but for ourselves as well. Joe's journey with Harley teaches us an important lesson. In every moment of hesitation, we have a choice to turn away or to extend a hand. And often, the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest ripples. So the next time you see someone or something in need, take a moment to pause. Ask yourself, what if my kindness could change a life? Because, as Joe and Harley's story proves, it absolutely can. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring content. Who knows? The next life-changing moment might be just around the corner.